Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are doing another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole, continuing on RFK Worm Brain Jr. Before we jump into it, brief disclaimer. Everything we cover throughout the duration of this series, you will be able to find linked right there in the description box. So, if you want to know source, please click on the description box. You'll find all the information right there. Also, trigger warning. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do use profanity. And some of the topics we cover on this channel, like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, for example, can be particularly triggering. So if you have children that are 16 and younger that watch the channel, parental supervision very much advised. Also, I got hit 2 times with the allergy stick. So I may sound a little weird. My apologies for that, alright? Now, some of this we're going to reread just a little bit because it's been a second since I did the last video. And also for the next paragraph or so, just to give you some context, alright? Kennedy went on to quote Safe Minds Mark Blaxell, of course he did, whom he identified as the vice president of a nonprofit organization concerned with the role of mercury in medicine. Because everything's Mercury's fault. If it's not Mercury, it's the aliens. Sanity, oh sweet, sweet sanity, where art thou? Why have you drifted so far away from us? Question for the philosophers. Let me continue. Blaxell accused the CDC of incompetence and gross negligence and claimed that the damage done by vaccines was bigger than asbestos, bigger than tobacco, bigger than anything you've ever seen. Every time somebody begins with bigger than anything you've ever seen before, I swear, and provides me no receipts, gives me nothing, you're a liar. You're an idiot. And everything you just previously said has been officially thrown out of my brain and into the dumpster heap where it belongs. Bigger than anything you ever seen is you trying to sell me, not inform me. Let me say that again. When you use terminology like this, bigger than anything you've ever seen, I cannot do a good Trump impersonation. I really can't. Anytime you see that, that's sales terminology. Being a call center jockey, I am unfortunately very intimate with that particular type of terminology and sentence framing. They're trying to sell you something. Okay? And when somebody's trying to sell you something, even if there is at least some credible information, they're still going to paint it whatever color they want you to see it as. Right? So anytime anyone tells me this, no, it's huge, you don't understand, it's crazy, everybody's in on it, it's bigger than anything you've ever seen. You're not informing me, you're selling me. And unfortunately for these folks, I can't be bought. I can't be bribed. I am the stubborn stick in the mud. Okay? I'm not going anywhere. You can't sell me. It also tells me, but we're a non-for-profit organization. If you're a non-for-profit organization and you're using salesman tactics like that, and it's not even for donations, you are the whole gigantic Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade of bullshit. Okay? I automatically will tune out every single thing else that comes out your mouth. Because everything that comes after that is nothing more than a sales pitch. And very bad ones at that. Let me go ahead and continue here. In the article's final paragraph, Kennedy warned his readers of the scandal's likely effects on the future. Because I care about Wormbrain's opinion on anything, particularly health care, from a gentleman who went to law school, not medical school. Sure, Jan, sure. It's hard to calculate the damage to our country and to the international efforts to eradicate epidemic diseases if third world nations come to believe that America's most heralded foreign aid initiative is poisoning their children. It's not poisoning anyone, Kennedy. The only one who's doing any goddamn poisoning is you and your psychotic boss. Okay? But, and then the autism, and it's horrible, and it's bankrupting countries. Thank you for making autistics scapegoats once more for neurotypical madness and bad decisions. As if we haven't been the scapegoat for decades now. It's old. Autistics do not control the financial stability of a country. Let me say that for the idiots in the back. Autistics are not the ones who control the financial stability of a country. You know what does? Policies. You know, the same kind of policies that you don't ever care to hear our opinion on, even when it's always far more accurate than any bullshit you let out on the evening news. So no. We're not bankrupting any countries. It's like, and what about the fact that because we're so scared of the tisms that people will not accept our aid anymore, then there'll be diseases. Yeah, who the fuck's fault is that, Kennedy? Whose fault is that? It's not a statistic's fault. That is a result of your fear-mongering, money-grubbing, ambulance-chasing ass who thinks if he can bullshit his way into power if he just uses sciencey words. And unfortunately, our country has fallen so goddamn far behind that all the smart people in the room who used to keep his crackpot ass out are no longer to be found, and everything's taken over by extremist left, extremist right morons. I said what I said. You all screw everything up. The government, policies, finances, y'all's own relationships. You guys screw all of that up. And then somehow you have the gall. You have the actual balls to then spin around and point your finger at us as though we were the ones with our hands on the reins of power. And then you use that as a way to grift off of the international public. But we're the problem somehow. It's all our fault. Your gaslighting doesn't work. Your logic is appalling. And y'all better be glad I have never really wanted any real political power, because day in and day out hammering against RFK Wormbrain Jr. every day, all day. It's not difficult to predict how this scenario will be interpreted by Americans' enemies abroad. Oh, you're gonna blame us for how people see us abroad. But you're not going to blame the gigantic orange orangutan in the damn room? Are you for real? He was certain that a failure of a generation of scientists and researchers to come clean on Thermosil will come back horribly to haunt our country and the world's poorest populations. No, honey. You're doing that all your own. All your own. You want to talk about what caused that mess? People like you. Sane people are just sitting here watching the chaos in the middle, absolutely horrified, wondering when the hell we allowed lunatics to take control of both sides. I said what I said. Because it's not the sane people that you see on YouTube that holds the ranks. I wish it were. But let me go ahead and continue here. In order for what Kennedy was claiming to be true, scientists and officials in government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and publicly held companies around the world would need to be part of a coordinated multi-decade scheme to prop up the vaccine industry's bottom line by masking the dangers of Thermosol. For real? Who the hell has time for that? These companies are not beefing up their yearly earnings by vaccines. We have already pulled the numbers up on that. We have pulled the numbers up on that. What was the number? I think it was it like 5% of the yearly earnings for any big pharmaceutical company comes from vaccines? All the rest of it comes from medications? And tell me, what would be the financial reason that it would be a good idea to poison all these kids? Do you understand how expensive lawsuits are? But the CEOs of the pharmaceutical companies are greedy. Yes, they are. That's why they're going to do everything they can to avoid frivolous, expensive, and drawn-out lawsuits. By making sure to properly test everything within an inch of its life, because it doesn't want their quarterly earnings to go down the toilet by having such a scandal as, poisoning kids. It's not happening, people. It's literally not happening. And it's happening because the CEOs are corrupt. Because the CEOs are greedy. That they do things the right way. Because they don't want the revenue lost it would cost to pay off all the lawsuits if what Kennedy was saying was factual. Do you see that happening? Because I don't see that happening. You're not going to waste time creating a whole gigantic multi-decade conspiracy in order to use what brings in the least amount of revenue to pharmaceutical companies and tell me, well, no, they're doing it so they can boost their wealth. Pharmaceutical companies' wealth doesn't come from vaccines. It comes from medication, you moron. Literally, it comes from medication. That is where they get the bulk of their revenue on an annual basis. To sit there and try and tell me that the thing that literally brings in the least amount of revenue, they got to protect that 5%. Please put down the crack pipe. For the love of God and all that's holy, put down the crack pipe. In Kennedy's telling, the plotting has been going on since the Great Depression, but it had begun in renewed earnest 5 years earlier at the isolated Simpson Wood Conference Center, a location that Kennedy said was chosen because it was nestled in wooded farmland next to the Chattahoochee River to ensure complete secrecy. In reality, the location was chosen because of a series of previously scheduled conferences had booked up all the hotel's rooms within 50 miles of Atlanta. But we can't have facts and reality, come in there and essentially turn on its head everything Mr. RFK Wormbraid Jr. says. Can't have that. It's a big conspiracy. It was started during the 1930s about how they were going to poison all our children to boost their cells. Even back then, the bulk of pharmaceutical money came from medicine, not vaccines. They actually brought in even less revenue annually back then than they do now. Because back then, the idea of regular prescription medicine was still very new. That was right at the tail end of the traveling medical shows, when we were first beginning to crack down on quack medicine. Alright, we're going to read the last paragraph here. Kennedy relied on a 286-page transcript of Simpson Wood meeting to corroborate his allegations. And wherever the transcript diverged from the story he wanted to tell, he simply cut and pasted until things came out right. Sounds like people who like to cherry pick the Bible, doesn't it? You can make anything sound bad if you knowingly leave out the context. Context is key. Always. So, he cut and pasted and said, just trust me, broad, didn't he? Again and again, he used participants' warnings about the reckless manipulation of scientific data by people with ulterior motives to do the very same thing they were afraid would happen. In other words, as usual in projection, Kennedy essentially is saying Big Pharma did what he did. Right? He's saying they manipulate everything. They manipulate everything. Oh, no, thanks. You don't need to look over here while I doctor this. No. Just listen to what I'm saying. Don't watch what I'm doing with my hands over here. Do not look at the man behind the curtain. Right? Right? Alright, folks. On that note, we're going to go ahead and close out for today. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, you know the drill. If you'll be so kind, please don't forget to hit the like button. Hit subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the comments. And make sure you are still set up on notifications. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode for the Snake Oil Salesman series. I'll be coming back next Saturday with the next episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. We don't want you all missing anything. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everyone.